Did you know that over 1 in 6 older Australians are now living in poverty in one of the wealthiest countries in the world? It's a shocking reality that most people don't see until it's too late. Seniors who once owned homes are now being forced into homelessness. Lifelong workers are skipping meals just to keep the lights on. And the worst part? This crisis is growing fast. How did we get here? Why are the very people who built this country struggling just to survive in it? In today's video, we're uncovering Australia's hidden crisis. A harsh truth that isn't making headlines, but is affecting hundreds of thousands of seniors every day. We'll break down the 10 real reasons why growing old in Australia has become so unaffordable, and some of them will absolutely shock you. Stay with us because this story needs to be told. Number 10. Policy blind spots and delayed reforms. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Australia's aging population has been growing for decades, yet our policies haven't kept pace. While governments talk about caring for seniors, real action is often slow, reactive, or completely missing. The result? A system that's failing the very people it was meant to protect. Take aged care reform, for example. After years of scandals and a royal commission that exposed neglect and underfunding, change was promised, but implementation has been painfully slow. Many seniors are still waiting months or even years for basic services like home care packages, while funding shortfalls leave aged care facilities understaffed and overstretched. And what about the pension system? Despite repeated warnings from economists and advocacy groups, Australia's age pension hasn't kept up with the actual cost of living. Meanwhile, housing affordability remains a political hot potato, with no consistent national strategy to address the surge in older renters and senior homelessness. Why the delay? It often comes down to politics. Seniors are seen as a stable voting bloc, but not necessarily a profitable one. There's little urgency until a crisis hits the front pages. And by then, it's already too late for many. These blind spots in policymaking mean thousands of older Australians are falling through the cracks, silently, invisibly, and avoidably. So what can you do? Speak up. Share this video. Start the conversation. The more we highlight the reality, the harder it becomes to ignore. Australia owes its seniors better, and it starts with awareness, action, and accountability. Backhand index pointing right if this issue matters to you. Hit that like button, subscribe for more honest breakdowns like this, and let us know in the comments. What changes do you think need to happen first? Number 9. Rising renters among seniors. In the past, most Australians retired with the security of homeownership. But that's changing, and fast. Today, more seniors are renting than ever before, and it's exposing them to a level of financial stress that many never expected in their later years. For older Australians who don't own property, the dream of a peaceful retirement is being replaced with a constant fear of eviction, sudden rent hikes, and insecure living conditions. Recent data shows that almost 1 in 3 seniors aged 65 and over are now renters, and that number is rising each year. Why? Because skyrocketing property prices, relationship breakdowns, job losses, and limited superannuation have pushed many older adults out of the housing market altogether. But renting in retirement isn't just inconvenient, it can be downright dangerous. Seniors on fixed incomes have very little room to absorb rising rent costs. A $50 rent increase might seem small to some, but for a pensioner already choosing between food and medication, it can be devastating. And let's not forget the emotional toll. Having to move frequently, deal with real estate agents, or compete in an overheated rental market creates stress and instability. Many seniors report feeling unwanted, invisible, or even judged by landlords and younger renters. In some cases, older Australians are hiding their age or health status just to secure a lease. Unlike homeowners, renters have no long-term security, and without stronger protections in place, the risk of falling into homelessness becomes frighteningly real. This isn't just a housing issue, it's a public health and human dignity crisis. As Australia continues to age, this trend raises serious questions about how we value and support our elders, and whether the current system is equipped to offer them the safety and stability they deserve. Number 8. Superannuation gaps for women. When we talk about retirement inequality in Australia, there's one group that's hit the hardest: older women. Despite decades of contributing to society through work, caregiving, and community roles. Many Australian women are entering retirement with far less superannuation than men, and the consequences are devastating. On average, women retire with 30% to 50% less super than their male counterparts. Why? Because the super system was designed around continuous, full-time employment, which simply doesn't reflect the reality for most women. Career breaks for raising children, part-time roles, and lower lifetime earnings all contribute to this gap, and the effects compound over time. This financial shortfall means many older women face retirement with very limited resources. Some are forced to delay retirement, take up casual or gig work, or rely entirely on the age pension, which, as we've covered, is often not enough to live on. And for widows or women who've gone through divorce later in life, the impact can be even more severe. After decades of sharing household income, many suddenly find themselves with little to no savings, limited work opportunities, and rising living costs. For too many, that means downsizing, renting, or even entering homelessness. In fact, older single women are now the fastest-growing group of homeless people in Australia, a statistic that reveals just how deep this crisis runs. This isn't just about money, it's about fairness, security, and dignity. Women who raised families, supported communities, and held together households are now being left behind by a system that never fully recognized their contribution. Unless meaningful reforms are made, this generational inequality will only deepen, and more women will age into poverty, through no fault of their own. Number 7. Casual ageism in the job market. Imagine spending your whole life working, only to find, when you still need or want a job in your 60s, that no one will hire you simply because of your age. That's the quiet reality for thousands of older Australians facing a job market that's not just competitive, it's openly biased. Ageism isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it comes as a polite rejection after a promising interview. Other times, it's being overlooked for training opportunities or new roles, even when you're fully qualified. Employers might assume older workers are slower, resistant to change, or too close to retirement to be worth investing in. These outdated assumptions are not only false, they're economically harmful. According to a 2023 national survey, nearly 30% of Australians over 50 reported experiencing age discrimination in the workplace, and over half said they felt employers were reluctant to hire them due to their age. This creates a vicious cycle. Seniors who want to keep working, either out of necessity or choice, are locked out of the workforce, leading to prolonged unemployment and financial hardship. For many, superannuation savings weren't enough, and the age pension alone doesn't cover essential living costs. A job could bridge that gap, but doors keep closing. And when older Australians are forced into low-paid, casual, or unstable work, it only deepens their financial insecurity. Beyond the dollars, the emotional toll of being dismissed or underestimated can be crushing. Feeling invisible or irrelevant in a society that prizes youth creates a deep sense of isolation. In reality, older workers bring experience, reliability, and strong work ethics, but these assets are too often ignored. Age should not be a barrier to opportunity, especially when so many seniors still have so much to contribute. Number 6. Inaccessible aged care services. When older Australians begin to need help with daily tasks, cooking, showering, managing medications, they often turn to aged care services. But what many don't realize until it's too late is that getting this help isn't simple, fast, or guaranteed. In fact, the aged care system in Australia has become so stretched and under-resourced that seniors are frequently left waiting months, even years, for the support they desperately need. Despite promises made after the Aged Care Royal Commission, access to basic home care packages remains limited. Over 60,000 older Australians are currently on wait lists for services like home visits, meal preparation, and personal care. For some, the wait is longer than their remaining years. And those who do receive care often find it inconsistent, rushed, or provided by staff who are underpaid and overwhelmed. For seniors trying to stay in their homes, this lack of support can lead to serious health risks, falls, malnutrition, untreated conditions, and often results in premature or unnecessary admission to aged care facilities. But even residential care isn't a guaranteed solution. Many facilities have long wait lists, strict eligibility criteria, or high out-of-pocket costs that make them unaffordable for low-income seniors. Those who do enter aged care are often met with understaffing, minimal personal attention, and a system struggling to maintain quality with limited resources. The emotional impact is profound: isolation, loss of independence, and feelings of being forgotten. While reforms are slowly rolling out, they are often bogged down in bureaucracy and lack the urgency needed to match the demand. For the average senior, navigating the system is confusing, stressful, and filled with delays that can literally cost them their health, safety, and dignity. Aged care is supposed to offer comfort and support, but for many, it's become just another source of anxiety in later life. Number 5. Inflation and cost of essentials. For most Australians, the rising cost of living is a daily struggle. But for seniors on fixed incomes, it's rapidly becoming a full-blown crisis. Inflation has hit everything: groceries, electricity, fuel, insurance, and even basic medications. For older adults relying on the age pension, which doesn't adjust fast enough to match real-world price increases, this means falling further behind with each passing month. Take something as simple as a weekly grocery shop. What used to cost $70 a few years ago can now push well over $100. Add in utilities, rent, and transport, and it becomes nearly impossible to cover essentials without sacrificing something vital, often food, medication, or heating in winter. For seniors managing chronic health conditions, these choices can be not only stressful but life-threatening. Unlike working-age Australians, pensioners often don't have the flexibility to increase their income. They can't just pick up extra shifts or side gigs. Their income is mostly locked in, and when prices rise, their purchasing power shrinks. Over time, that erodes not just financial stability, but also independence and dignity. Insurance premiums are another silent pressure. Home, health, and car insurance costs have surged, and older Australians are often charged more simply because of their age. Yet, opting out of coverage can leave them dangerously vulnerable. Many seniors are experts at budgeting, having lived through tougher times in the past. But this is different. The speed and scale of inflation, especially post-pandemic and amid global instability, is outpacing their ability to cope. For those without savings or family support, it's a terrifying spiral that can lead to poverty, debt, or homelessness. Living frugally is one thing, but having to count every dollar every week just to survive? That's the grim reality facing a growing number of older Australians in today's economy. Number 4. Lack of affordable senior housing. As housing prices in Australia continue to soar, one group has been quietly pushed to the margins: seniors seeking affordable housing. For older Australians, especially those on the age pension or with limited superannuation, finding a safe, stable, and affordable place to live has become increasingly difficult. And the truth is, the system simply hasn't been built to support them. There is a severe shortage of dedicated low-cost housing options for older people. Government housing waitlists stretch into years, and the private rental market offers little relief. Seniors who spent their lives working and contributing to society are now being told, implicitly or directly, that they can't afford to grow old in the cities or communities they helped build. Worse still, many retirement villages or aged living developments are marketed as affordable, but come with hidden costs, steep entry fees, or ongoing charges that quickly add up. These places often cater more to financially secure retirees than to those living on fixed incomes. As a result, thousands of seniors find themselves in a cruel dilemma: downsize into poorly maintained, unsafe, or unsuitable housing, or risk falling into homelessness altogether. And homelessness among older Australians is no longer rare. In fact, recent figures show that the number of seniors experiencing homelessness has increased by over 30% in the past decade. Many are forced into temporary accommodations, staying with friends or sleeping in their cars, situations that are physically and emotionally devastating for anyone, let alone someone in their 70s or 80s. Stable housing isn't just about shelter. It's about safety, community, and dignity. Yet, for a growing number of older Australians, having a roof over their head is no longer something they can count on. It's becoming a luxury they're struggling to afford. Number 3. Out-of-pocket healthcare costs. Australia's healthcare system is often praised for its universal coverage, But for seniors living on limited incomes, the reality is far less reassuring. While Medicare does cover a large portion of essential health services, there are significant gaps that leave older Australians paying out of pocket for critical care. And as people age, their health care needs naturally increase, turning these costs into a heavy and sometimes unmanageable burden. Services like dental care, eye tests, hearing aids, and physiotherapy are either partially covered or not covered at all. Private health insurance is often suggested as a solution, but premiums climb sharply with age, making it unaffordable for many retirees. Even routine GP visits can involve gap fees, and specialists, scans, or outpatient procedures can cost hundreds of dollars up front. For a senior managing chronic illnesses, such as diabetes, arthritis, or heart disease, the ongoing costs of medications, tests, and appointments can easily eat into their pension, and these aren't optional extras. Missing just one checkup or medication refill can have serious, even life-threatening consequences. It's not uncommon for older Australians to delay or skip treatment altogether because they simply can't afford it. Some stretch prescriptions, others avoid follow-up scans. Over time, these decisions, made out of financial necessity, lead to worsening health, emergency hospital visits, and a lower quality of life. And when it comes to aged care services or in-home support, even the government-subsidized programs often require co-payments or top-ups, which can be difficult to manage. Many seniors are left to navigate a confusing, bureaucratic system while simultaneously trying to budget for necessities. Number 2. Insufficient pension payments. For many older Australians, the age pension is their primary or sole source of income, and it's simply not enough to live on. As the cost of housing, food, transport, and healthcare continues to climb, the pension has failed to keep pace, leaving thousands of seniors struggling just to meet basic needs. The uncomfortable truth is that in one of the world's wealthiest nations, many retirees are living below the poverty line. As of 2025, the full single-age pension, including supplements, sits at around $1,100 to $1,200 per fortnight. That might sound manageable until you break down the reality. Rent alone can take up half or more of that amount, especially in major cities. Add electricity, phone bills, groceries, medical costs, and transport, and there's very little, if anything, left. This shortfall is particularly brutal for seniors without superannuation or savings. Women, migrants, carers, and those who worked in low-paying or informal jobs are especially vulnerable. These groups often have limited financial buffers and rely heavily on the pension just to survive. The pension system is also means-tested, which means seniors who have saved modestly over their lifetimes may receive reduced payments, creating a disincentive for saving at all. Many feel punished for trying to be financially responsible. Others are forced to spend down their savings just to qualify for assistance, draining their long-term security. Beyond the numbers, the emotional toll is immense. Seniors are often forced into a mindset of constant sacrifice, skipping social outings, missing meals, or avoiding heating or cooling their homes to save money. These aren't luxuries. They're essentials for a safe and dignified life. The system was designed to support people in their later years. But for many older Australians, the pension has become a survival tool, not a safety net, and it's fraying under the pressure. Number 1. Skyrocketing housing costs. Housing in Australia has become so expensive that it's no longer just a challenge for younger generations. It's now a full-blown crisis for seniors. 2. For older Australians who don't own a home, or who are still paying off a mortgage, the surge in property prices and rental costs has created a financial nightmare in retirement. In cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and even regional centers, the cost of renting has risen by over 30% in the past 5 years. What was once affordable on a modest pension is now completely out of reach. A single-bedroom apartment in an average suburb can swallow up more than half of a retiree's income, and that's without factoring in utilities, groceries, or medical bills. For many, staying housed means living in constant financial stress. Even for seniors who own homes, there's growing pressure. Council rates, maintenance costs, and rising insurance premiums are hitting hard. And if their home is older, which many are, they face costly repairs that pensions often can't cover. Selling up might seem like a solution, but downsizing isn't always viable. Smaller properties or retirement units often come with hefty entry fees, body corporate costs, or hidden charges, making the transition both emotionally and financially difficult. And for those who lose their housing due to rent hikes, eviction, or personal circumstances, the options are grim. Emergency housing is limited, waitlists for social housing are years-long, and age-friendly rentals are almost non-existent. Some seniors are forced into shared housing, caravan parks, or even their cars, living in precarious conditions that put their health and safety at risk. Housing is more than just a roof. It's the foundation of a stable, healthy retirement. But in today's market, that foundation is crumbling for thousands of older Australians, leaving them with nowhere to go and no way to afford a place to call home. Australia is often seen as a land of opportunity, a country that prides itself on fairness, prosperity, and looking after its own. But for a growing number of older Australians, that promise is slipping away. From unaffordable housing and stagnant pensions to soaring healthcare costs and policy inaction, the reality for many seniors is one of constant financial stress, uncertainty, and quiet suffering. These aren't isolated issues, they're deeply connected symptoms of a system that hasn't adapted to the real needs of an aging population. Seniors are living longer, but instead of enjoying those extra years, many are being pushed to the margins, forced to fight just to keep a roof over their heads or access basic care. And what's most heartbreaking is that many of these people worked hard their whole lives. They raised families, paid taxes, contributed to their communities, and yet, in retirement, they're being left behind. This isn't just a social issue. It's a national crisis in slow motion. If we don't address it with urgency, we risk failing an entire generation that helped shape the Australia we live in today. But awareness is the first step. By shining a light on these hidden struggles, we can start pushing for change, better policies, fairer systems, and more respect for the dignity of older Australians. Because growing old should come with peace of mind, not fear. And retirement should be a time of rest, not relentless worry. So let's ask the hard questions. Let's talk about what needs to change. And most importantly, let's make sure the people who paved the way for us are not forgotten, but valued, protected, and supported the way they deserve to be.